Hi everyone. Okay, so February already, which is amazing. We all survived January. Again, thank you for joining me for today's wire wrapping tutorial. Obviously last month we did like a frame design, so we did pyramids. This time I thought we'd do something a bit simpler. So we're going to basically wrap this lava kite, which is a very, very pretty stone. You can see it's very flashy, very, very pretty stone. And we're going to use, same as we did last time, we're going to use 4 base wires. And again, these are what are they, 0.8mm wire. So if you're ever kind of shopping out for your wires, you're wanting to get started, you're wanting to try something, you can kind of work with different wires. You can work with different shape wires, and you can also work with different gauge wires. So obviously I've got lots of different ones here. So we've got like a really fat chunky one, we've got the really slim ones, and you'll kind of find your preference to which one you want to use, which is great. But what we want to try and do today is start the process of wrapping this stone into these 4 wires and making it look like this. So let me just get my bits together. Okay, so we've got a few different tools we're going to use. We've got obviously some bent nose pliers, we've got some flat nose pliers, nylon nose pliers, we've got cutters, and we've got bail makers. So all of these different tools are going to get used at some point. I'm just going to adjust that just a bit low. So to start with, and this really is probably one of the most basic ways to start your pendant, and I apologise if you can hear my puppies running around behind me. So we're going to take all 4 of our base wires, and as well we're going to take our slightly thinner wires. So we've got the 0.8mm and the 0.4mm, and we're just going to bend that wire over the top of all 4 of them. Now I always try and pinch all 4 wires with my fingernail to stop them from spreading out and trying to keep them in line with each other. And what I do is I always do between 3 and 5 wraps, keeping them tight. So I always use my fingernail, that's why my nails are always a mess, to push the wire along as I'm doing this. So just winding it round and then winding it back up behind all 4 wires. You can see the 4 wires are staying reasonably flat. And then what I'll do is I will get my flat pliers and just pinch. All we want to try and do here is not worry too much about this end bit at the moment, but we just want to pinch and try and keep those wires nice and tight for a start, so it looks tidy, but also try and get them nice and flat. Once you've squished them down, you're just going to keep wrapping. So every so many wraps, you're just going to give them another smush with those flat pliers, just to keep it tidy, keep it tight, and make sure that everything stays in line, because as you move further away, you're going to start finding these wires trying to crunch down into each other. So you smush, and you smush, and you'll see it starts to get nice and tight down the bottom. So this is the base of your pendant. Now this is just one way of doing it, and obviously if you've seen the pendants on my shop and the ones that I post on Facebook and Instagram, you'll probably notice that this is one of my favourite ways of doing it. It's just nice and simple. Occasionally I will do like a big elaborate frame or a shape, but I tend to prefer working with these sort of teardrop shaped pendant, cabochon, sorry. It's just what I like. It's what I like doing. It's what I enjoy doing. I do some oval pendants, but I just find them sometimes a little bit argumentative. So this is a kind of a really good way of starting out, is using like one of these teardrop shapes, because you can really kind of shape your wires to the shape of the stone, which is obviously makes the frame look nicer. And the wires are going to keep it in the frame of this bloody camera, so I apologise for that. So depending on how big your stone is, depends on how far you're going to want to wind this wire. Just keep an eye on how long it is, and also what way up the stone is going to sit. So whenever I'm positioning a stone, I'm going to look at it two ways. I'm going to look which way do you see the best part of the stone, and at what angle are you going to, you know, really benefit from the aesthetics of the stone. So like this lava kite flashes on both sides, but I'd actually say that way a bit closer. So I'll probably do it point down. But yeah, so we're just gonna keep winding this round, keep tidying it up, keep smooshing it up, and just lose yourself in your wire wrap. So do a few more. So yeah, you can kind of see that when I pull the wire around, I immediately push it over with my fingernail, and it's just trying to keep them all nice and bunched up, nice and tight. You just want to keep doing that until you're happy with the length that you've got. And then obviously, like I say, making sure that these wires stay nice and flat with each other. So if you've got a square wire, and this is round wire, but if you're using square wire, then yes, it can make the pendant look more aesthetically pleasing, I suppose you could say. But you do have to try really hard to not twist the wire and not kink it, because it's very, very hard to pull it back to straight, whereas the rounder wires tend to be a little bit softer and a little bit more malleable. So I'm just going to round this one a bit more here on this side. And we want to try and do it so we've got minimal waste of your wire as well, because, you know, the wire's probably as expensive as the stone sometimes, so depending on what you're using. So these are silver plated copper. I like using copper just because it's nice to work with. You know, I've tried working with filled wire, and I probably will again at some point, because it is alright to work with. But I just find with the copper, it just does what you ask it. It just behaves itself a little bit better. So here we are. We've got, get rid of those little cut off bits. So we've trimmed off the ends. We've got our base. Now you can smoosh it and mush it, but you just want to make it as tight and tidy as you can. It does move around. It's wire. It's not set where it should be. It doesn't do what you want it to do all the time. But obviously, you just get used to how it works. So with this, obviously, we've got the base there. We've got the stone. Move this all out of the way. And now we've got to try and somehow get that stone to sit in that wire. So what we do is we grip. I'll try and stay on camera. We grip with our flat wires. Now you want to use these kind of wires if you can with this, because they are, you know, they're level, whereas something like this isn't straight, so you've got to get the right angle. So we're going to grip it roughly in about the middle, just roughly, and then with your thumb, hold this tight with your thumb, just gently bend it up, and you end up with that nice V shape. What we can then do, again with these tools like that, is bring this down onto the table and just pop your cabochon in. So you're just nosing your cabochon's point into the crease of the bend that you have just created. Now this is probably the bit where this camera is making my hands really yellow. So with this one, excuse me, This is probably one of the trickier parts. So you've got to hold the stone so it's nosed into that point at the bottom. You've got to hold that and the wire at the same point, so it's all squished together, and then press all 4 wires into the side of your cabochon. So you're holding tight at the bottom and you're pressing in at the top. Now you want to try and keep all 4 wires in order that they come out of that wrap that you've just done at the bottom. So we're just going to keep drawing those wires in, and you see it starts to hug around that stone, pulling them in gently, and then when you're happy with the shape of the top of that fits there, you start pressing it in at the sides, and that just again it shapes the wires to the shape of the stone. What we then need to do, because obviously the stone is not going to just sit in there, so we need to go to the back, or what will be the back, and we're going to get out again. These pliers, they're so well used, but we are going to grip. Let me try and see if I can get this. We are going to grip this back wire only. So you've got your 3 front wires and your back wire. With your finger just sitting into that bend, all you're going to do, and this is more of a movement of your wrist, not pliers, holding on there, you're just going to twist it in. You then do the same on the other side. Again, just twist it in. So you end up with this arrowhead position at the bottom. This is going to move some of these wires, but don't worry about that for the moment. But now you can see that crystal is going to sit there quite happily, which allows you a little bit more freedom when trying to shape the wires, and again just making sure that your 4 wires are in order. So you've now got 3 wires coming up the side, and what you'll find is this part of the actual pendant making is probably the fiddliest, because you're trying to hold everything together and shape it, and the last thing you want to do is bend the wires in the wrong place. So one of the things I tend to do here is I'll hold again the back, the sides and the front, and I'll squeeze the wires with my fingers, so you end up with this point where they come together. As long as that is quite central into the middle of the stone, I then get my pliers and I pinch it all together so it's nice and tight. So you hopefully will have a veil in line with the bottom point, and you're just going to come straight line. From there, we need some more wire. So I'm going to grab my scrappy bit of wire, which I've chopped up the other one. And I'm just going to take about just under a metre. I probably don't need that much. I'm going to say 70 centimetres. I always tend to cut off more than I need at this point, because I use this bit of wire to set the bail. So obviously you've got the main part of the pendant, which is your crystal and your frame, and then this bit where the chain comes through is your bail. So we're going to take this thin wire and we're just going to lay it across the 4 wires to one side, and then guide it round once or twice. So with this, it is going to move all of the wires about. So be patient with yourself, be patient with your wrap, because you don't want all of the wires twisting up. Sometimes I do, I let them go all over the place because au naturel is quite cool. But then we're going to pull this wire, tighten it all up, and then we're going to go round. I always do 10, it's just a habit I think. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, and then I just pull it all the way around to the back and just let it sit over there. And then with this tail end, So obviously, as you can see, I've just mushed it down so it's right on the edge of the bail. I'm just going to pinch these so they all sit nice and tight. That's good, lovely. And then I'm going to get my bent nose pliers. And these are, I don't know how long I've had these, but they are my trusty ones. And with this little tail end of wire that's sticking out the back, I'm just going to bend it round and bring it up through the centre of that page, or frame, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go around there once, and then I'm going to go back around the other side. Bring it through, bring it up, and I'm just giving it a little bit of a smash. So you've got this little nugget of wire. I'm just going to trim that off so it's gone. So you can see very minimal wastage there, just a couple of little bits. Now what you will find sometimes with this bare silver wire, which I'm using, it will tarnish, but you sometimes find that it actually makes your fingers a little bit black, which is fine, but you'll kind of look down and go, why don't you hand that? And it's because there's like a protective coating on the wire. So I'm just going to squish all that in. Okay. So you see now we've got the stone set, the back, the base, and the bottom of the bow. Just push that down. This, you want to try and keep this tidy up here, but we are going to hide it. So you can see on this one, you've got like a thicker wire that sits over it. So we're going to do a similar thing on this one. Before we go any further though, what we need to do is just make sure that this stone isn't going to fall out. So you can see I've not secured it in yet, but it's still not falling out because the wires are quite tight around it. So again, flat nose. What we're going to do is just pull this front wire slightly forward and get the edge of the wire in there, and again thumb just on the top corner, push it in, and get rid of nice little out. Same on the other side. I'm just going to separate it with the fingernail, and then try and get it symmetrical. Doesn't always work, but again with anything like this, symmetry isn't what we're going for. It's quite close. Now you've still got two wires sat here. You can leave those two wires there, that's absolutely fine. These two will hold it in. What I sometimes do, if it's quite a deep stone, which this is, I'll take the second wire and I'll just kink it in towards that first front wire. And it just gives it that little bit more grip. Okay. Okay, so then what we've got, we're going to pull two front wires down, so we're going back up into the bail section. We're going to take two wires to the side there, and then two wires to the side there. Now this is why you don't want all of your wires crossing over at the side, because if they do, when you're separating them here, it makes it go all a bit squiffy. So by keeping this all nice and straight, we end up with a much nicer sort of setting for the bail. So for the bail, we've got these two bits of wire. The bail is entirely your choice. So you can split them out and do like a wide bail like this, where it's a crisscross pattern. You could do just a thin, consistent bail like this one. We could do like this one. It sort of stops and starts. Yeah, and that's pretty much. Or we can do like this one. So I'll show you these side by side. You can't really see the difference. They are slightly different. This one crisscrosses, this one's straight. So it's entirely, you know, this is the beginning of the really creative part of your pendant making. So what we'll do today is just keep it simple. So just get your two wires that are going to make up your bail with a nylon pliers, you're just going to pinch and pull up, and this will straighten your wires up. Make sure everything's still in place. So every time you give something a little bit of force, just make sure everything's straight. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to do a really simple straight up pendant, straight up bail. So with a straight up bail, you're basically just wrapping both wires together. And like this wire is quite soft, so if you've got a harder wire, it will stay where you want it to, but this is quite a soft wire, so it does move around quite a lot. But the principle is the same. Every now and then, again, like you did at the bottom, we're just going to smush, tighten it all up, give it a little push down, and then we're going to keep going up. Sometimes it does what you want it, sometimes it doesn't. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I always tend to, I don't know why, but I always do so many wraps, depending on what part of the pendant I'm on, but you will feel, like the more you practice, that you will feel the wire responding to your hand, so you'll know when something's not quite right, when something's moving that you don't want to move, and you're able to stop and kind of catch that before it turns into a disaster. There are a lot of people who say work off the reel. That might be what you want to do, but you might not be. I mean, to be quite honest, every time I've tried to work off the reel, I've just got more and more irritated because the reel doesn't let the wire just roll off it easily. It's not like a reel of cotton, shall we say, where it just flows off nice and gently. It will either spiral out of control and go everywhere, and then you'll end up with loads of kinks, or it'll be nice and tight and it won't come off, but you'll end up having to keep stopping what you're doing because you need to unroll it yourself. But anyway, I'm rambling. So we've got quite a nice length there for a bail. So just smush, 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 smush. So you can see we've got, you can see where it's trying to twist itself around as well. So it can be quite, I will get better at this video, I promise. So we're just going to cut off the excess there, we don't need it for now. I'm just going to keep smooshing up with that one. So what we're then going to do is we're going to just push that forward a little bit. So if you look at it from the side, flat back, slightly to the front. And then we need our bail making pliers. And we're not going to grip it hard, so if you grip it hard, what you'll do is you'll end up just separating the wires that you've just wrapped around. So just very gently, and then you just gently push it around. Take your bail making pliers out, and well, you have your bail. What we then need to do, just move these out of the way. So remember I said we were going to cover this bit up? This is the wire we're going to use. So, we'll just make sure that everything's where we want it to be. And we just pull one of these wires around. Again, you do have to sort of keep an eye on things because it does try to twist itself up a little bit, certainly with this softer wire. So then all I do is I tend to hold the bail itself, bring it round, and just wrap it round. And you want the end, so where the end of the wire is, you're just going to try and bring it round to the front here, so it's at the front of the pendant. And then with the second bit of wire, we're just going to do the same but in the opposite direction. So it acts as decoration, but it also acts as a security for your pendant. So if you get to this point and you know you've not got enough to go all the way back round, you just snip a voo, rubbish, squishy, it's all there, nothing's going anywhere, it's not going to fall off. So you can get rid of the bail making pliers, don't need them. So what we've got now is 6 loose wires. They're all a little bit messy at the minute because they've been yanked apart. So what we can do again, with your nylon nose pliers, we're just going to pull them up, and pull them up. So this kind of helps to straighten them back out a little bit. Not properly, not perfectly, but just a little bit. So depending on what kind of style you're going for, so we've got a couple of different styles here. That's the back. You know, we're just winding. So we're not going to do one like this where we've got the wound wire around there. So we've moved that one out of the way. But these ones, we can do any version of. And like I say, whenever I do any kind of work with my pendants, I never try and copy it. So I just let the wire go where it wants to go. And I think what we'll do is we'll do 3 wire split. So we're going to pull that one over to that side, that one over to that side. So what we've got now is 2 lots of 3. And again, just try and get them so they sit comfortably next to each other. And creativity moment. Let me think. What should we do? Which way should we go? This is, again, so part of the bail is your creativity, and then the wrap at the top is your creativity. The stone, that is what it is. Obviously, choosing what colour to wrap it in is one thing. So you could get copper, you could do gold, rose gold, silver, brass, whatever you want. It's infinitely endless. So anyway, let's just have a look. This one. So you want to make sure they're sitting nice and flush. I'm just going to pinch them there just to try and get them to sit flush, which will just make them hopefully move a little better. Now you can move 1 wire at a time or all 3 wires together. I'm going to go all 3 wires together here, and you can see I'm not yanking it, I'm just teasing it, gently pulling it round where I want it to go, and then I'm going to come around the back. So we've got our first loop. This one, I haven't got particularly long wire on this one, but I'm just going to go with it, see what happens. So I'm not going to connect those up yet because I might bring them back round, but I'm going to just swing this one down. And again, just teasing it round, so you're trying to keep the wires perfectly flat, but it looks really nice when they all just sit next to each other, and it gives that extra bit of dimension. So we've got one yoink. This one, do I do another one? Have I got enough for another one? Let's go for it. And it's up to you how tight those little winds are, so you can kind of change the size of your loops, and when it starts to lose its form, holding that loop where it is, you're just going to bend the wire around behind. And then this one, and like I've said, you can overwork a pendant. It's actually turned out quite nice though. So then what we've got at the back is we've got 6 wires that all need to connect to something. And the best thing to connect them to is this back frame. So let me just get my cutters, 2 seconds. Okay, so cutters, What I'm going to do is with my flat nose plier, I'm just going to try and prise up this side. Now I'm not going to lift it. I don't want to lift it. I just want to slide it under there. So I've got a very, very slight gap underneath that wire. Then it might almost seem like you're undoing some of your work. I'm not. We're just going to bend these back out of the way because you can only do one wire at a time. Now it might be, and I think what I will do on this one is, because I've got 6 wires coming around in the same place, is 3 of the wires I'm going to extend across the back and put onto this wire, and 3 onto this wire. So I'm going to keep my finger on this section, so where I'm putting these wires around from, I'm going to keep my finger pressing down on that. And then with my bent nose pliers, I'm just going to gently put a curve onto the end of this wire and then bring it round bit by bit until it hooks up underneath. And then rather than just grabbing it and pulling it, I'm just going to feed it through, twisting it as I go. So then I end up with this big loop going around, and then I can give it a tug, start to bring it around, pressing it down behind the stone, giving it a snip, and getting rid of that bit of excess. And then again with my bent nose pliers, just bringing it around, and we're just going to press that end down and away from the body. So if you think this is where the necklace is going to sit against your skin, we don't want any sharp edges coming through there. And then we just repeat that process. So we just go for the second wire, again feeding it round, and then give it a pull. Excuse me for sniffing a bit. I'm not cold, but I've just had a little bit of a sniffle today. So then our third wire for this side, we're just going to bring it round again, hooking it under, feeding it through, gradually, nice and tightly, pushing it in, giving it a snip, and then pushing it down into the back of the stone. And then we've got 3 wires secure. Very little waste, so you've only cut off a couple of little bits of wire. Then, same on this side. Lifting that wire up. Start with the top wire. So feeding it down till it comes under, and then yoink, until you've got it tight enough that you can pull it across. Snip. Down. 1, 2. And then your last wire. Now, when you're making a pendant, just remember that the back it's not the bit that people are looking at. Yes, if it looks tidy, it's good, but you aren't buying a pendant because the back looks nice. You're buying a pendant because the front looks nice. And that, my dears, is a rather quite silver plated wire wrapped pendant that we have made together. So please go and give it a try if you want it. If you do, come and share the results with me. Or, you know, if you're struggling with a particular part, then let me know, because what are you stuck with? I might be able to help you. It is a lovely stone. It's a bit like silver sheen obsidian, but got a bit more mottling going on, shall we So there you go. There is a lava kite pendant all ready for the shop. Okay, so thanks again for joining me for today. And like I say, if you need help with anything, just come and ask. Take care everyone, speak to you soon. Bye.